The Adventures of Little Bewildered Henry, The Extraordinary Adventures of Poor Little Bewildered Henry, who was shut up in an old abbey for 3 weeks. A story founded on facts by Anonymous. Category, children, children's stories. Little Bewildered Henry, by the author of Nothing at All, etc., etc. Illustration, Frontispice, see page 9. The Extraordinary Adventures of Poor Little Bewildered Henry, who was shut up in an old abbey for 3 weeks. A story founded on fact by Nothing at All, etc. 1850. The Adventures of Little Bewildered Henry. Illustration. Oh, mama, mama, where is you, mama? Sobbed little Henry, a sweet child of 3 years old, as he stood in the lawn opposite the door with the wind blowing his pretty hair and clothes all about him. Oh, mama, mama, where is you? I don't know. Where is you, my own mama? What are you crying for? Said Bill Boldface, a naughty boy in the village. What are you crying for, you bold puppy? It is a good scalping you want. Don't you know what a scalping is, my boy? A good whipping. No, no, me don't want a whipping. Me don't want a whipping. Me want mama. Oh, where is you, my own mama? Well, she has gone into the wood there, and if you don't make haste and run after her, a big pig that's there under the tree, all bloody with long ears and cocked tail, will eat her. Run, my boy, that's right, run now, run. Poor little Henry, much more alarmed for his mamma than for himself, flew into the wood with the hope of saving her, and having run a good way without stopping, calling all the time for his dear mamma, he tripped again against a tree and fell, but quickly recovering, he stood up and continued his race, till, quite exhausted, he sat down on the grass and there continued panting and crying bitterly. At last he turned round, and what he see? To his great joy, but his favourite dog, Fidel. Oh, Fidel, Fidel, said the baby, hugging his little arms round the dog's neck. Oh, where is Mama, and where's Papa, and where's Nurse, where Fidel? Cannot you tell me where? But having received no answer, he stood up again, and again, commenced his journey, and Fidel ran on before, and it was astonishing what a length of way the baby walked, till at last he came to the foot of a high mountain. Should. And now night came on, and the wind blew, strong and cold, and little Henry, quite bewildered, turned into a narrow path, shaded by oak, and elm, and sycamore trees, and the baby again tripped against the root of one of them, and fell, and his little hand came against a stone, and he was much hurt, and his heart beat, and the tears streamed down one of the prettiest little faces that ever was seen, and the wind blew his pretty hair off his forehead, and it would go to your very heart to hear his little mournful cry, calling out for his mamma, his own dear mamma. Illustration. At length the moon arose in great splendour, and little Henry saw at a distance an old abbey, all covered with ivy, and looking so dark and dismal, it would frighten any one from going in, but Henry's little heart, occupied by the idea of his mamma, and with grief that he could not find her, felt no fear, but walking in, he saw a cell in the corner that looked like a baby house, and with Leave me alone. Why's it only come up when I'm... Stop it. Why's it gone to Vista Basic? Oh, I clicked it, didn't I? Fuck it. Why's it only come up when I'm fucking reading this shit? You crap. At length, where was I now? He saw a cell in the corner look like baby house, and with Fidel by his side, he bent his little steps towards it, and seating himself on a stone, he leaned his pretty head against the old wall and fell fast asleep. Illustration. Overcome with fatigue, the sweet baby slept soundly till morning, but when he awoke, Fidel was gone, and he felt very hungry, and he again set up his little cry. Oh, mama, where is your mama? Oh, I want my breakfast, I want my breakfast. At length he spied Fidel cantering in with something in her mouth, and having laid it by Henry's side, she darted out of the abbey. Henry took it up. It was a large piece of white bread, which the faithful creature had met with somewhere and brought to her little favourite. Footnote 1, a fact. You may suppose how happy the poor child was to get, and while he was eating it, a grey owl marched from her nest in the wall, and began picking up the crumbs. This greatly amused little Henry, and in a few minutes after there came a great set of sparrows and a robin redbreast, and two of them began to fight, and this made Henry laugh, and on the whole they so occupied him all day he was less unhappy than the day before, and when night came he lay down near the nest of the owl and her young ones and slept soundly. Next day, faithful Fidel again appeared with a piece of boiled beef in her mouth, which, having left at Henry's feet, she scampered off, and Henry ate heartily, and gave some to the owls, and when he could forget his mamma, which indeed was not often, these birds used to amuse his little mind, but towards evening, getting very thirsty, he again began to cry, and to call for mamma, and God, who watches over little infants, just the same as if they were grown men, put into his little heart to walk outside the abbey, where was a nice stream running through the grass, and the baby, recollecting he had seen a boy the week before, lying on the ground drinking out of a stream, near Papa's house, knelt down and took a hearty drink of the clear water. Illustration. And now, near a week passed over, Fidel constantly bringing a supply of food, and the owls and the sparrows and the robin sharing the welcome morsel, and affording Henry's little mind constant amusement and occupation. At length, the little birds began not to be afraid of Henry, and they would come and hop by his side, and pick up the crumbs, and almost eat from his hand, and one of them built its nest close to him, and laid 2 eggs, and every evening would sing such a sweet song that really the baby began to get reconciled, and used to feel like a little king among them all. And now we must leave our mighty monarch for a while, and return to his disconsolate parents. Illustration. The evening Bill Boldface had met him and sent him so cruelly into the wood. Mamma was out, walking, and on her return inquired for the baby. Oh, said Papa, he is safe. I saw him in Nurse's arms a few minutes ago. Mamma immediately went up to the nursery, and there heard that Nurse had gone off to see her sister, who lived about 2 miles distant, and, of course, said the nursery maid, she has taken Master Henry with her. Impressed with this idea, Mamma returned to tea, but when night came she began to get very uneasy, for Nurse did not return. Oh, said Papa, you know she often remains at her sister's, and though she has done very wrong in keeping the baby out, yet she is so fond and careful of him, we need not be uneasy. But what was their distraction when morning came? Nurse returned, but no baby. The whole country was searched, the ponds and lake were searched, every spot searched but the very place the baby was in. Advertisements were put in all the papers, and the poor father and mother were near sinking under the distraction of their mind. Unfeeling Bill Boldface, who could have set all the rights, had sailed off to America the very morning after the sweet baby had disappeared. At length, one morning, the distracted father perceived Fidel jumping upon the table and seizing a large piece of bread, fly off with it to the wood. The Lord instantly put it in his heart to follow the dog, who led him into the abbey, and there, surrounded by his little subjects, the birds fast asleep, for he had just fallen asleep on his throne, lay the little monarch. His hand was placed under his little head, and the leaves of the ivy and the yew were all scattered about him. My child, said the poor father, darting forward and snatching him in his arms. "'Tis my Henry, my cherub, my darling, oh gracious God, is indeed my child." Illustration. The well-known voice aroused Henry, and flinging his little arms around Papa's neck, he begged to be taken instantly to Mamma, saying as his happy Papa carried him out of the abbey, "Goodbye, little birds, goodbye. I'll come back tomorrow and bring you some white bread. But now I must go see Mamma. Good boy. Oh, goodbye, little birds, goodbye." Poor Mamma, when she saw him overcome by her feelings, fainted away. When she recovered, she threw herself on her knees in gratitude to God for thus so wonderfully preserving her little darling. And now, my children, pause for a moment and reflect on the goodness of God, so powerfully displayed in his little story. You see how he directed Fidel to bring food for the support of this little baby. You see how wonderfully he was preserved, and how at length he was restored to his parents. Those parents were truly religious, and therefore their prayers were heard. For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open upon their prayers, but the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. Pet I 12, I missed one. Pet I 12, my children, love God and make Christ your friend, and then they will watch over you as they did over little Henry. And when you die, they will take you up to live with themselves, and you shall be surrounded by the happy angels in heaven. Perhaps my little readers may like to hear something of poor Fidel. Soon after her visits to the abbey, she had two little pups. One of them died, but the other Henry reared with the greatest tenderness, while its good old mother, beloved and even respected, which is not generally the case with dogs, by all the family, lived to an advanced age, and when she died, they buried her in the garden, under the spreading branches of an old sycamore tree. The little Henry, trained in the love and fear of God, grew up one of the best of children. Everywhere he went, the blessing of God was with him, for Christ was his friend, and when little Henry had committed a fault, he would apply to his kind Saviour, who was then always ready to procure God's pardon for him. In the course of time, his mamma taught him the following little poem. Thou friend of my childhood and guide of my youth, thou father of mercies and fountain of truth, protect and direct me wherever I stray, and bless little Henry each hour in the day. When up in the morning I rise from my bed, oh, let thy kind angels be placed o'er my head, and when at my tasks, at my school or my play, still bless little Henry each hour in the day. When night spreads its shade o'er the waves of the deep, and Henry is sunk in the stillness of sleep, oh, still let thy poor child be dear in thy sight, and bless little Henry each hour in the night. Finis, books by the same author, poems appropriate for the sick or melancholy hour. Melancholy, I don't know. It was between newly married, bitch, Cornesian choreography, the flowers of the forest, the gift from the mountains, the walking wallies, and nothing old. Okay, I'm going to talk some more, so feel free to leave. That's the end of the story. Also, I talked before the story, and I'm probably going to move that to the end of the story because it's a bit dickish to leave it there when someone wants to hear a story and you get some tosser saying they're speaking. So speaking at the end is better than speaking at the beginning because it's over. Fuck off. So you fucked off, people who don't want to listen to me talk, and people who stayed. I might put the speaking part just before this, or I might put it after. So I'll put the speaking part before, so you've already heard it, or after, so you can hear it after this. So, what a crap story. It was okay until the God crap. I didn't think much of that. It seems like someone added it after it was a type of story, and then, alright, let's add some God crap in it. Because it didn't seem nothing like it. It seems like someone just added it in. Little Bewildered Henry, and I don't really remember any of it. I remember hearing, or I was reading it, but I can't remember fuck all about it. It's all gone out of my head. Yeah, the God shit seemed to pop in about halfway through until then it just seemed like a normal children's story, and then it turned into Christian brainwashing. Anyway, I was speaking before, someone left a comment on my Captain Gross saying how, what's the point of this? And my point is to practice my speaking, because I noticed while I was speaking that I somewhat didn't say the whole word, like nothing. I'll say nothing, or like most English, they don't pronounce the first letter, or I won't pronounce the last letter, like nothing, or not nothing, or nothing. So I thought if I read books, I'll read the whole word, and I'll start saying the whole word. Also, another reason why I started doing this was because when I was uploading, games would lag. So I thought, okay, if I do reading, because I might feel like doing a playthrough, but if I'm uploading, it's going to lag. So just reading isn't going to lag, because it's just a still image, pretty much. So I can do that without it fucking the uploader lagging. And that's about it. Also, I'm going to get drunk. I thought, I didn't really want to play a game. This is my first Carlsberg. I went to Tesco's, and the only offer they really had was 24 cans for £14. So that's what I've got. So I'll see how many cans I can drink. The most I've drunk, well, in lager, I can't really remember what the most is. 10 cans of something. I've had 6 pints of Guinness in a pub, and maybe 8 cans of draft at home. Guinness draft. As for lager, I cannot remember. Maybe it was Foster's or Heineken. Probably not Heineken, but I think it was a green can. I don't think it was Carlsberg. So maybe Heineken, because that's a greenish can. Oh well, that's my talking done with. I think I'll go play a game. Bye. Hello, the adventures of little bewildered Henry. This is some religious shit, and I was planning not to bother with it because it was some religious shit, but I want to talk a little bit before I start doing it, so someone asked me on Captain Gross, or someone just left a comment saying, what's the point of this? And the point of doing read-throughs is to practice my speaking for when I do playthroughs. Also, another reason was I don't really like reading ebooks, and talking myself out loud, reading it is bearable more than reading it in my head alone, so that's the main reason, and this is some religious crap. I was planning not to do it because I was thinking people might think I'm religious, or I believe this shit, and that's why I'm doing this shit, but I don't, so I'm gonna do it now. Here's my little talking scene. Also, I'm going to get drunk, which is the reason I'm doing a read-through right now. That's why I did Captain Gross. It was a dictionary. I like dictionaries. And it's not the standard dictionary. And it's an old dictionary. Yeah, onward